This episode of The Unstarving Musician is sponsored by Liner Notes. Want to learn from the hundreds of musicians and industry pros I've spoken with for The Unstarving Musician? Sign up for Liner Notes, my curated email newsletter where I share the best insights and knowledge gems from these conversations, some of which have been featured on the podcast. From marketing and songwriting to touring and sync licensing, you'll get actionable tips delivered straight to your inbox every 2 weeks. Liner Notes Insider, the deep dive edition, will feature exclusive deep dives, detailed case studies, and premium content that goes beyond the podcast interviews. Sign up at unstarvingmusician.com/liner notes. It's free to get started, and you can unsubscribe at any time. Welcome to another episode of The Unstarving Musician. I am Rabanzo, and this is my podcast. How are you? Where are you? How are you feeling? What are you wearing? These are the things I always want to know. In this episode, I'm diving into the world of music video promotion with a true industry veteran, Andy Gesner. Andy's the founder of Hip Video Promo, a company that has been helping independent artists gain crucial exposure for their visual content. And he's been doing it for 25 years. Andy joins me from South River, New Jersey, where he's built an impressive career connecting musicians with audiences. In this conversation, we explore how music videos can be career-changing assets for independent artists. Andy shares fascinating stories behind Hip Video Promo's work with breakthrough videos like Johnny Cash's haunting rendition of Hurt and the Lumineers' viral hit Ho Hey, and great song, by the way, both of which helped catapult these artists to new heights of recognition at completely different stages of their careers. We also dig into practical marketing strategies for today's digital landscape, including how to effectively leverage various promotion platforms, what metrics actually matter when measuring video success, the critical importance of consistent content creation, why authenticity is essential in your video presentation. So whether you're just starting to explore video content, kind of like me, or looking to elevate your current strategy, Andy provides invaluable insights on how to make your visual identity work harder for your music career. So grab your notepad, because this episode is packed with actionable insights from someone who's helped countless independent artists transform their careers through smart visual promotion. All right, with that, here is me speaking with Andy Gesner of Hip Video Promotion. Are you in New Jersey? Located in New Jersey?
Yes.
South River?
South River.
Is that by chance where you're from?
No, I went to Rutgers, so I moved here from the suburbs of Philly, but came here in the 80s and never left.
Okay, well, that's a long time. Well, first of all, tell my listeners what Hip Video Production does, what services you guys provide.
Well, we have hipvideopromo.com. That is the main site because our main thrust is promo. But
Okay.
8 years ago, we began a production arm of Hip. So we have both websites, but the Hip Video Promo is really the
brand.
main
Yeah.
portal for our services.
Cool. Well, tell my listeners about the services real quick.
Sure. Well, Hip Video Promo began in the year 2000. This was after 20 years of being a musician, playing in musical groups. As a bass player, I got to see firsthand how difficult this industry can be to break through. So, as the person in my musical entity that was the one doing the bookings and making the connections and accumulating the names for the mailing list, I learned a lot about marketing. I learned a lot about the ways to not do things. And so when I was 39 in the year 2000, I figured, hey, if you can't do, teach. So I got it on a good tip from a dear friend who I trusted. He said, Andy, not for nothing, this new thing called the World Wide Web. I said, yeah. He said, yeah. It's only going to be a matter of time before the entire human family will be able to watch music videos on their computer. And I got to thinking about that, and I thought, well, you got to figure that the visual content aspect of music is going to become more important. And if I had been a wildcat oil prospector in the 80s and 90s, though pretty much every oil well I dug came up a dud, hip video promo really did become my gusher. And from the age of 39 to now, age of 64, we've spent the last 24 and a half years helping clients secure exposure for their music videos.
Nice. Does that, by the way, I immediately think, and especially because you approached me, immediately think of the music artist, but does your work also span commercial avenues where you're, working on music video that may be for a product or a company, or is it always with artists for the most part?
Always for artists, musicians, songwriters, rock bands, EDM producers, hip hop artists, soul, R&B. But we will have instances where folks outside of the music industry purview will ask for our assistance. We have a music supervisor. He provides music for television and film. He asked us to make some sizzle reels for his
Mhm.
new website, which we were happy to do. We have a local radio personality who has a garden show,
Mhm.
and she asked if we could help with her social media. So we got together with her and we shot lots of short form content. So, though our main um, lane, as it were, is for musicians, bands, rappers, songwriters. We don't limit it to just that. If there's a way we could help someone who's out there doing what they do, we always try to find a way to figure it out.
That's cool. And at the same time, I love it. Sounds like like you said, your own words, the main thrust is music and the artist. I think that's very cool, but obviously wonderful that you can lend your talents to other people and spaces and industries. Okay, I kind of know how you feel about this, but I want to ask because I want listeners to hear your viewpoint on why music videos are like the most powerful piece of marketing currency today.
Well, I would say that when we began in the year 2000, MTV had been going strong, but it was starting to lose a little bit of its luster. I think that for a lot of people, they were now finding different avenues to discover visual content. And once it became clear that a person's computer, laptop, desktop could provide them the music video content that they were desiring, everything changed. And we went from listening to music and maybe every once in a while checking out a music video, which at that point in time were really relegated to the bigger names in the industry. As you remember, it was expensive to shoot a video. You had to shoot it on film. The actual film was very expensive. And so it very much boxed out a lot of the up and comers, people who were not well moneyed or people experiencing budgetary constraints. But as YouTube came into the fold 20 years ago, all of a sudden people were making music videos and not spending thousands of dollars. In many cases, only spending a couple hundred or five or 600 and creating visual content that could really help them with their marketing. Nowadays, the entire music loving public, they very much listen with their eyes. So, if it's your video or if it's your social media short form content, people really now more than ever expect to be able to see and hear from the artists behind their favorite songs. And with visual content being so important, you really have to figure out, hey, if we're going to be spending money to create great visual content, if it's 20% the content you make, very much is the 80% the marketing that you implement.
Yeah. Well, you kind of taking me back when you mentioned 2000 and the importance or the impending importance of video and computers. It seems, when I think about it, it seems so early in the internet. But yeah, I guess little by little, right? And you saw it coming,
Mm-hmm.
as did a lot of other people. Not everyone, but yeah, I'm a terrible predictor of the future. So I can remember working, you'll laugh a little bit. I can remember doing some contract work for Netflix years ago. And I was like, they're never going to be able to stream movies to our home. The bandwidth just will never be there. And that's why I'm not one of those guys. So we talked about in our email exchange, we were talking about a few things. I was just kind of uh, get some of your mindset on some areas, and you touched on it a little bit, like the big budget that used to be. And I would imagine that some productions still today are, relatively speaking, pretty big budget, but a lot of artists, as you know, can't afford high-end video production. And so, what are a couple of two or three examples of like lower budget or cost-effective videos that really broke through with their like creative storytelling or whatever unique concept they might have had, and what made them successful, and maybe a little bit about like how you managed to do some of that stuff with your clients?
Sure. Well, if we go back 22 years, Lost Highway sent us a video, and this is back when you didn't just send a link, you literally had to send a VHS tape. So the marketing staff could see what they were working with. And it was the Johnny Cash Hurt video,
Wow.
which, though it wasn't a small budget video, it was very simple, just basically Johnny at uh, a dining room table and Johnny at a piano. And then they interspersed various footage from Johnny's illustrious career. And it wasn't too fancy, but because it was the iconic Man in Black and it was such an original idea for a country legend like Johnny Cash, very novel to do a Nine Inch Nails cover. That video just absolutely took off and just continued to garner exposure and attention. And Johnny would have won all those MTV Video Music Awards in September of 2003. But unfortunately, he passed away about 12 days before the broadcast.
Wow.
So there's no doubt about it that that video is the most iconic of all the music videos out there that are featuring a cover of a song. And being able to promote that Johnny Cash Hurt video in 2003 really opened up a lot of incredible opportunities for hip. And it's that catch 22. It's tough to get people to hire you unless you've worked with notable names and artists. But how do you work with notable names and artists if no one's going to hire you? So once we'd had the great pleasure of promoting the Johnny Cash Hurt video, I was able to go back to the people at Sub Pop and Polyvinyl and Drive Through Records and Fearless and Fueled by Ramen. And when they asked, okay, well, who have you worked with that we might have heard of? I can say, well, we promoted that Johnny Cash Hurt video. And at that point, everyone had seen that video. And that really was the turning point for hip video promo. And here we are 22 years later and 4,800 music videos promoted so far. And we're just as we were when we began, always looking for great visual content, that kind of first impression that can really help an up and coming artist or musician, since you want to make sure that when people watch your video, they have no visceral urge other than to just hit play again and watch it again. But to make that happen, it just can't be something that's called in or not well thought out or planned. So, my advice to anybody out there considering visual content as a way to build their fan base and their community, you really want to find the right videographer. You want to have a great concept. You want it to be memorable, and you want it to be a great first impression.
And what struck you about his video in turn, I mean, outside of Johnny Cash and this amazing cover song, what struck you about it, fitting into this idea that it wasn't necessarily the biggest budget thing ever produced?
I think that everybody wants to see their favorite artists in a way that makes a true human connection. And what was remarkable about that video is that Johnny was in poor health. He was unafraid to show the world his vulnerabilities, in that, yes, we all grow old. We all one day will shift off this mortal coil. And he just followed the advice and the direction of his production team, and ended up making just that kind of memorable video that everyone can gravitate towards. So I think it was just the combination of Johnny having the intestinal fortitude to not worry about, okay, well, I don't look too good, or I really don't feel up for this. He's always been willing and able to take on any new situation. And this was one where he absolutely hit a grand slam and made something that will certainly stand the test of time. It will always be remembered as the last video that he created. And his legacy will always stay intact, very much because of that wonderful video my team and I had the pleasure of promoting.
Yeah, and I think it sounds like, when you're talking about that video, it hits on a lot of things that you'd pointed out to me in our earlier conversations about, like, for instance, you'd said a way to tackle a low budget is to shoot in an accessible location, which it sounds like they may have done. They weren't all over the place anyway. Maybe it wasn't at his home, but it was in maybe a single location. You also touched on this idea of using visual effects to communicate the mood and the tone of that iconic song that the iconic artist was doing. And then that stripped back approach too was another thing you said. It seems like it captures all of those elements, and Johnny brings his own signature style to it. So I guess there's a lot of lessons that any artist can learn from that. And maybe it's a big learning experience for you to just see that video the first time and think about it more and more as you guys worked with them to promote it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Another good example is the Lumineers. This one,
yeah,
we go back 13 years. It was this very month in 2012 that the Ho-Hey video came to us. Very
wonderful video.
simple, very inexpensive. Let's rent out an old dilapidated hospital. Let's call all our friends, and we'll make a party out of it. And from small acorns, big oak trees grow. Unlike Johnny, who was universally known as the iconic Man in Black, one of America's most enduring and legendary musicians, and songwriters and creatives. The Lumineers were barely known, and the song was so different than what people were listening to on the radio in
Yeah,
2012.
yeah,
Americana was not a thing. Sure, you were seeing the Avett Brothers and Mumford and Sons starting to get traction, but I contend that it was the Lumineers, the three of them, with that Ho Hey video that really ushered in that musical movement. And though a lot of people were saying that the song was a bit hokey and cheesy with the shouts, but the decision makers, gatekeepers don't always get it right. And though there was some apprehension out there, unknown band, quite an odd, peculiar song. It's the just talk about shining a spotlight down on how really the public they decide, and that could be probably the best example of what we might call an earworm, because just like any other great marketing campaign, you've got to have a message that's memorable. And Ho Hey went from this sleeper song catching traction in certain markets around America to all of a sudden catching like wildfire all over North America, to the point where all of a sudden Europe and Scandinavia and places all over the planet were able to hear the Lumineers and their first debut single, Ho Hey. And great music will always find an audience. And they went from being barely known in the beginning of 2012 to being nominated for Best New Band at the Grammys in 2013. And if you go and watch that Lumineers Ho Hey video, very simple in concept, 100% memorable in every aspect. And that song, that video, very much launched their career.
yeah. From the listener or music consumer perspective, with the absence of radio in these years that we're talking about, I would have to 100% agree that, well, you didn't say this, but I think it's kind of implied that without that video, we might not have heard of them. It goes to show the impact of what a good video can do for an artist at the right time, in the right place, in the right time. And in a strange parallel, you can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, or you may, having worked with this team, you may know more about Johnny Cash than I do, and I don't claim to be an aficionado, but I believe I'd heard on a podcast, maybe with Rick Rubin, or had read that Johnny's career actually had really kind of, these are my words, not anything I heard directly, but really had kind of gone stale, and that really resurrected him in a way, in a big way. And again, just sort of demonstrating the power of both great recording, audio, and great video, and just coupled with the icon and those visuals, it's pretty remarkable.
100% agree.
So the platform puzzle, this is another area that we had some back and forth about, or a little exchange. I shouldn't say too much back and forth, but in something I'd sent you, I kind of just cited like the rise of TikTok, but I think more importantly, just short form video, which you've mentioned here and maybe in another email that we had. But how should musicians and artists be thinking about adapting their music video strategies with this? And is there still, a place for longer form and narrative driven videos?
Absolutely. Every music video, whether it's 2.5 minutes long, 3 minutes and 15 seconds, 4 minutes and 5 seconds, every video, you have the opportunity to take that video and cut it into smaller, more easily digestible bits, so that throughout your online platforms, though you may not want to present the entire music video. You can take snippets out of that video and you can use that on your social media to drive people to your YouTube channel. I think that the YouTube channel doesn't get the attention that it deserves amongst up and coming independent creatives. Sure, they're putting the emphasis on Instagram as they should. They're putting their emphasis on growing a TikTok fan base as well they should. But YouTube is the second largest search engine on the internet right after Google. And everybody on this crazy world torn asunder has visited YouTube and gone down the rabbit holes. And while watching a video, you see other videos listed on the right hand side of your screen, and you can just be there for hours upon hours upon hours watching YouTube videos. But a lot of people will go to the YouTube channel because they know there, if you've optimized your channel correctly, they can go and visit any other part of your musical arena. When you click that About section, sure, you get about 400 characters to tell your story, but there you can put your website and you can put links to your Spotify, all of your different platforms, LinkedIn if you'd like. So having that area fully optimized is so important. I think also up and coming artists and musical groups are neglecting the importance of YouTube Shorts. YouTube Shorts have become a huge conduit for fans to find out more about the artists that they enjoy listening to. And short form content is great because if, as a independent creative, you are not letting people know more about your journey, your personality, uh, your humor, your passions, you're missing a great opportunity because sometimes we'll really, really like a song and then we'll go to check out more about the artist. And then when you actually see how the artist is presenting themselves, you love the artist. The artist is great. So I think having independent artists come to the grips that they can't be saying things like, no one really cares what I'm doing outside of my music. That's not true. People like to see what you're like when you're not being that creative that have caught their attention. And for many of my clients, putting their inhibitions on the back burner is very, very difficult. I like to use the analogy of a change jar because, as you know, it's all about staying consistent, releasing new content, not going AWOL, and leaving people who are interested in your musical pursuits just wondering, hey, where did he go? Why is he not posted? Consistent, sustained promotion really is the key to success these days. And as long as you're throwing a couple of pieces of change into that change jar every single week, don't have to be posting 4 or 5 times a day. Hell, if you're just posting 4 or 5 times a week on all the various platforms, you're keeping that vibration going. So if you can just stay consistent, after maybe a couple weeks, it doesn't look like there's been much real activity. But if you can keep it going for a couple months, then you actually start to see the fruits of your labor. If you can keep it going for 2, 3 years and stay consistent and mix your music posts with posts about your personality, what it is that you enjoy, your passions. It could be, for us, it's Turntable Tuesday. We like to show records off that we love to listen to, or Flashback Friday. Flashback Friday is great. You can show people where you were 3, 5, 10 years ago. People really enjoy that because you're actually showing the world that you're not afraid to let the world know what it is that you're really all about and where you came from and what your passions are. It makes you a more likable creative, and in many cases makes you impossible not to root for.
Yeah. And now, a quick word from our sponsor. Are you a songwriter, music publisher, or administrator? If so, you need to know about the Mechanical Licensing Collective, or the MLC. They're a nonprofit organization that's revolutionized how creators get paid their mechanical streaming royalties from platforms like Spotify and Apple Music in the US. Every month, the MLC collects streaming data and royalties from those platforms, matches the money to the creator who has earned it, and then pays out the royalties due. With over $2.5 billion in royalties distributed and more than 50,000 members worldwide, the MLC is already making a huge impact. And the best part? Membership is completely free. Don't leave money on the table. Visit themlc.com and sign up today. I would say to add to that, and I know you know this, but just thinking about people that are going to be listening to our conversation, that it really helps find people that will like you because they really like your personality before they even know about your music or whatever else you're doing, and or they just like you even more because they know something about you. And certainly not everyone's going to like us, but you know we're not after the folks that don't like us anyway. So it's a great way to let people in on the inside, isn't it?
Really is. When I met Justina Valentine, a fellow Garden State musical kindred spirit, this is 2013, uh, she was very straight up. She said, look, people are telling me I am in the wrong musical lane. They said, you don't really have a shot to make it in this urban hip hop world. It's not going to happen. It's not going to last. How many of your viewers and listeners have been told that you might as well just fold up like a cheap lawn chair because it's never going to happen for you, my friend? All it does is make you want it more. Makes you want to show those people that they're complete jackasses. And that if you don't believe in me, all good. Sucks to be you because I believe in me and I'm going
Yeah.
to keep fighting the good fight. So she had asked, what do I have to do? And everything we've spoken about so far, she absolutely did. She was unafraid to show her personality. And when it comes to personality, Justina Valentine has got it. She is brash. She is sometimes bombastic. She's very animated. And she's, I wouldn't say cocky, I would just say she's confident. No hubris in that woman whatsoever. And yes, 2014, 15, 16, people sort of dismissed her. I don't know about this. But she just kept grinding and she kept staying consistent. And when people told her to tone it down, maybe dial it back, everybody's got an opinion. You should do this. She just said, I'm going to, best thing I could ever be in my life is myself, and I ain't changing a thing. And I think that's why we bonded, because if you go to our YouTube channel, I've made hundreds of videos, and people will say, wow, what chemical extractions is that guy on? Why is he so upbeat? Why is he always just eternally ebullient? Why does he come across like he's so sure of himself and he's so loud? He talks so loud. Um, I have fielded the same sort of advice and tutelage, And I just, you know, if I try to be anything else other than myself, it isn't going to end well. So, and it's true. If you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life. And why should I feel compelled to temper my ebullience? You know, I'm so blessed to be able to do this. You imagine, most people my age are already retired, playing golf 3 times a week, had a job they really didn't like very much, didn't make much of a difference in this world. But for me, I mean, we're at 4,800 music videos. We're revving up to get to 5,000 later this year. And in October, we're going to turn 25 years old. And
Amazing.
I mean, small businesses, especially in the criminally overtaxed state of New Jersey, man, it's tough to keep things going 3, 4 years. If you can go 8 or 9 years, you should feel very, very blessed. But just the fact, and especially in this insufferable industry full of fake, phony frauds, liars, fakers, fairy tale makers, just the fact that we were able to and continue to prosper and grow and get the word out. Um, yeah, at 64, let's see, 25 more years, I'll be 89. I think I can do it.
Sure you can. With that attitude, for sure. This is probably a pretty big moving target, but in terms of like tracking success, what are some of the key metrics that they should be tracking to measure the success, blah, the success of their music videos and what goes beyond just like views and likes?
Well, it's remarkable how if you've got a great music video, you really have to look at every spoke of the wheel of marketing it. People will use YouTube views as their only measure of a video's success. But we have videos every week being pitched to MTV and BET. MTV has many different platforms now via the OTT platforms, visuals delivered via the internet. And whether it's MTVU for the colleges or MTV Spanking New for the up and comers, MTV's Biggest Pop for the pop stars, Yo MTV for the urban hip hop artists, so many different platforms. And now that you can view these MTV platforms, not just on your television, but you can view all of this on your laptop, or you can view it on your iPad, or your desktop, or your phone. So visuals are now more important than ever. But one thing is for certain, if as an up and coming artist, you're able to attach your name, your brand, your music, your images to an iconic, internationally known brand like MTV Music Television, that is something that has great power because they are highly curated. How can an independent artist even get on MTV? Well, there's only one way to do it: deliver a stellar video, a memorable song. It's huge. Same with urban hip hop artists. If you can get your video on BET Jams, that's big because that sets you apart from all the tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of folks out there that are your competition. If you're a faith based artist and you're able to get on BET Gospel, we saw this with Jacqueline Carr, who is just a phenomenal talent. It's like Aretha Franklin meets Mavis Staples. The woman just has that force of nature voice. And getting that exposure on BET Gospel actually it just opened up this whole new group of people who, as you said about the Lumineers, might not have known about her otherwise. So getting that kind of exposure really does move the needle for artists. But, you know, how do you even get your video to those big platforms? Well, that's where a company like Hip Video Promo comes in because they make it very hard. You've got to close caption the video that's marrying the words to the video. You have to digitally deliver it completely 100% to their specifications, or they're going to knock it out of contention. You have to use a company out of Toronto, and they literally charge you for every single submission. So it was basically the bigger networks figuring out a way to weed out the riffraff because they didn't like their acquisition meetings lasting 3, 4 hours. So, like, let's make it really hard for people. So, this way, only the truly serious people who want that kind of exposure are going to have the opportunity to secure it. Um, Websites, blogs, we were there right in the beginning, pitching to the pitchforks and the stereo gums and the faders and the hype magazines and the spin and the Rolling Stone. I mean, video was now on your computer. So, just like any news site you go to, when do you ever go to a news story that doesn't have a video included? Everybody listens and they want a visual. So being able to get that kind of online real estate that's really going to help an artist, it isn't something you want to overlook because not only are there going to be tens of thousands of people who will discover you on their favorite website that features music or a blog that features a particular genre, but just having all of that online real estate, it helps significantly with search engine optimization. Many artists, they don't think a lot about their artist name. And sometimes they come up with an artist name. It is a search engine optimization nightmare. It's terrible. And then, of course, there are artists who go by their given government name, but there's an issue because there's a more famous football player with the exact same name.
Sometimes among the most famous people.
Right. And so uh, that is something you really have to consider because if people can't find you when they Google you, you've really got a problem. The best way to relegate any of that competition to the dustbin of history, aka the second page of the Google search, is to just continue to create and get more exposure online because, as we well know, the algorithms are set up. They let those Google spiders out every day to decide, okay, what's relevant, what is not. And everything is overcomable if you just continue to stay consistent in securing online exposure. That's going to make it easier for people to find you. The
Yeah.
content providers, they've been around since we began. A company like Promo Only, they are all about creating customer experiences for their clients. In many cases, it's a cruise ship or a chain of bowling alleys or airports. We see the music videos playing when we go into BJ's Wholesale Club or Sam's Club or Costco. People go to the fitness center. There you go. The videos are right there, not just in the TVs in the hallway, but actually on the exercise equipment. They have video screens built right in. So having someone who can actually present your video to these locations. I mean, think about it. Foot Locker has 1,500 locations. So they're going to add your video for the month of March. Well, those presentations run on a 1 hour loop. So if it's going to get played 12 times a day for a month in 1,500 locations, that is a lot of impressions. And remember, you've got a captive audience. They're just waiting in line, they're looking up, they're like, oh, that's pretty cool. I like that song. And now with Shazam, you can always Shazam it to find out who it is.
Yep.
Content providers, they are the unsung heroes of music video promotion. Because if I had a quarter for every call I've gotten since the year 2000, hey, Andy, I just got a call from my sister. She got a call from her boyfriend. He swears he just saw my video at LA Fitness. How can that be? I'm like, well, LA Fitness added the video to their screens. So yes, you got to look for every potential opportunity. Now it's the poor man's Spotify, YouTube playlists. So you don't want to spend the 11.99 a month for your Spotify. Just go to YouTube, type in a musical genre.
I have to say, by the way, I'm a YouTube Premium subscriber as a partly as a musician, but their music service, just the delivery and the experience is amazing. I like it, and I've had them all the way back to Rhapsody and Napster and all that, and I've just kind of switched periodically. But yeah, I love the YouTube Premium music service. It's great. But continue, please. I digress.
No, no, and it's true. If it's 13.99 a month for YouTube Premium,
It's less than that, at least the what I have is.
that's less than two quarters a day. I mean, and plus you don't have to see the ads.
Right. I know. I'm like, why does everyone's got YouTube, and I'm like, and retail, and here in Mexico, it's even worse. People are willing to play a free service and let subject people to ads. I'm like, why do you not have premium?
No, it's
So,
true.
yeah.
We spoke about the importance of visuals now more than ever, and these YouTube playlists. What a genuine, authentic way to get views for your music video. You've probably spoken with other guests, and they've got the 87,413 views on their video. Well, that's great. 87,000 views. That's nothing to sneeze at. But then on further inspection, they only have 17 likes and 3 comments. Something's not right here. And as an up and coming creative, the last thing you want to do is expose yourself as someone trying to fake it to make it. What's beautiful about the YouTube playlists, they're very curated. They're not going to just put anything on a playlist that's got to fit because people are tuning in, they want great content, and you're usually included with much bigger names, so it makes you look good. It's like the old saying, show me who you walk with, and I'll show you who you are. And I get it. A lot of people will hit a YouTube playlist. They're not sitting there watching it. They hit the YouTube playlist and then they go in the kitchen and do the dishes. They have it up high volume or who knows what they're doing. But the key is whether they're just hearing it or hearing it and seeing it, at least you know it is a genuine, authentic person actually hearing your song and
Hmm.
it's not any sort of trickery or fakery or bottery or whatever it is. So If you've got a great video, you want to hit everybody who can help you: television, the content providers, the OTT platforms, the websites, the blogs, the YouTube playlists. So many different ways to get people's attention. And then, as we mentioned, with your video, you can utilize your social media sites to enhance it even further by taking pieces of the video, doing short form content featuring the video. So do not believe the hype. A lot of people are saying, well, you really don't want to spend too much money on a stupid ass music video anymore. Of course, I would disagree with that statement because it's my vocation, but don't count the music video out yet because it is still the best way to bring more fans into your community. There is no greater achievement than showing people your true artistic expression outside of just the audio. Getting to see it too can make all the difference.
Yeah, I think among those that I speak with, I think that everyone still believes in video. I'm not sure how many people are overly concerned about the attention war that we're all being sieged by, but you know, you have to be part of it, I guess. And hey, it's a great expression of art. I know that there's a lot of stuff we could just keep on going and going about. I know that people may have questions, and that your website is great in terms of all the places they can find you. And the website is hipvideopromo.com, lest I forget to mention in the intro that I'll make for this a little later. But did we miss anything that you think we should leave listeners with?
Just that, as a fellow creative, I've always felt strongly that if you're going to hire someone to help market your art, it's always good to have someone who's actually lived it, breathed it, sweat it, bled it. Everyone here on the team has had experience, whether they're a drummer like yourself or a songwriter. I think there's a lot more empathy. A lot of music marketing professionals never picked up a guitar. Maybe they were on their college radio station, but they preferred to not actually get up on stage and do it. But I do think that if you've actually had that shared experience, you understand your clients much better. Yes, hipvideopromo.com. You can see all of the thousands of artists we've worked with. You click on the All Clients tab, and every single one has a well crafted, passionately prepared, and written pitch one sheet. Who are they? What makes them special? Why should the world pay attention? And it's really been our greatest joy being in on the ground floor with artists before anyone knows who they are, whether it's 30 Seconds to Mars or Paramore, Maroon 5, Sia, all artists that we promoted the first video. You can never know for sure if they're going to be the ones that break through and reach the highest levels of the music industry. But as you all know, you got to be in it to win it. And, you've got to continue to present new material to the world. And it could be argued now you've got to stay on what might be a 90-day cycle, 4 new releases a year. Then there's other that do
The
the
pressure.
75 days, 5 releases a year. Uh, there are others that will do 6 releases a year. That's the 60-day grind. But it's important to stay consistent because if you're not continually keeping people engaged, they're going to go. Think of it as throwing a party, and it's a nonstop party. You want people coming to the party and you want them staying. So if you approach it with that kind of mindset, and realize that you're only as good as your last release, that's how you continue to improve with your songcraft and with your presentation, and it builds confidence. And I get it. It's much, much easier to be a musician and go out every weekend and make the big bucks covering other people's songs. But that is not a fulfilling endeavor. What you really want to do is create your own musical lane, whether it's popular or not, and stick with it. Because those are the only people that are going to rise to the top and create new musical genres and musical paths for others to follow. It's the only way you're really going to make a difference. You know, it could be argued that every kind of music has already been made yet, but every day I'm reminded no, that's not true. There's always going to be something new out there for people to gravitate towards.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Good tips there, Andy. And thanks, man, for reaching out and proposing a conversation and being here with me today. I really appreciate it. And thanks for sharing all the stories. And it sounds like you're doing really wonderful work. So I guess thanks for supporting all those amazing artists.
And thank you for what you are doing because it is the up and comers that quite often get marginalized. They get criminally overlooked. Gosh knows they're underappreciated.
Yeah.
So for you to take the time to talk to the people who are, shall we say, maybe on the lower rungs of the music world hierarchy, uh, getting to listen to John Templeman, my good buddy at Jib Machine. What a pleasure. That guy is a king amongst men. You think
He's a
of
nice guy.
all the people he's helped with Jib Machine Records, or a guy like Joshua Van Ness, who I've known for 30 years,
Really?
fellow Garden State musical kindred spirit, always championed him. He's so talented. So to be able to hear him on your program, what a great transmission. The guy has always been just the best kind of people. So I feel very grateful that I'm part of this coterie you've got going on, and it's growing and people really enjoy it. You're giving voice to the voiceless, people who really need the kind of sage wisdom and advice that's hard to come by, especially in the music industry. So good work.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. And man, I tell you, it's these people, all yourself included, all give so much. It's a great way for me to learn a lot of things and just meet some really wonderful people. I wish that it was within my ability to just stay in constant contact with most of these people, but we all have our lives and doing our things. But we stay in touch in a sort of thin relationship kind of way. And it's always nice, and it's wonderful to hear those guys' names too. So I appreciate that a lot.
Absolutely. It is HIP, HIP, HIP video promo.com. If you go there, you can pick your favorite platform, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X. Um, and unlike other music marketing companies, I appreciate that you want to speak to the person in charge. You don't want to speak to an underling or a secretary or an associate, or you want to talk to the head person. I've been the one man sales crew all this time because you and I both know if we're going to take our hard earned money and spend it, we want to know who it's going to be that we're reaching out to if we have an issue and or concern. So, everybody watching this transmission, if you need help with music marketing, if you've got a new music video, you need someone to make you a lyric video, you need help with social media management, or you just want a consultation, our consultations here are always free. I mean, there's these publicists. It's just, yeah. Well, if you want to do a consultation with me, you got to send me $100 and then I'll talk to you. I'm like, really? Oh man, talk about a turnoff right at the beginning of the sale. But I get it. I get it. If you've gotten to that plateau where you're able to do such a thing, more power to you. But here at HIP, as mentioned, we are getting ready to celebrate our 25th birthday in October. We have no interest and or plans to keep slowing down. We're always finding new ways to help our cherished creatives, our clients. And as I mentioned earlier, it's 20% the great music you make. It's definitely 80% the marketing you implement. So we'd be thrilled if you would consider HIP as a place you could potentially reach out to learn more about how marketing can really make the difference in your musical career.
Cool, man. Well, thanks a lot. I'll be in touch with you very soon again, okay?
Thanks,
Regarding
Roberto. It's
our
been a great
conversation. All right.
pleasure.
Yeah. Pleasure was mine, buddy. Take
All
care.
right, talk soon. Thanks
All
for
right.
watching, everyone.
Would you like to boost your online presence and support this podcast? You can visit bandzoogle.com and use the promo code Robonzo, ROBONZO, to get 15% off your first year. How does this help? Bandzoogle pays us a small commission if you sign up for a paid plan, and it's at no extra cost to you. I've personally tested and used Bandzoogle. The way it helps easily manage direct fandom marketing and sales with features like its commission-free store is nothing short of greatness. Bandzoogle.com, promo code Robonzo, ROBONZO. As an independent podcaster, your support means the world to me. You could even say I depend on it. With that in mind, here are some things you can do to help support us. Follow us on your favorite podcast app, leave us a review on your favorite podcast app, or shoot me a review by email, robonzo@unstarvingmusician.com, that I can use on the website. Or just share this episode with a friend. This makes a huge impact on our audience growth. You could also visit our crowd sponsor page at unstarvingmusician.com/crowd sponsor to learn of the many other ways of supporting the podcast, including a quick and easy online tip jar. It's like click, tip, done, easy and super appreciated. You'll find many ways of showing your support there, including through our affiliate partners like Bandzoogle, Kit, Email, formerly ConvertKit, DreamHost, and others. The music you're hearing is New Gods Part 2, the instrumental mix by yours truly. You can hear, download, and or buy the full version by yours truly at robonzo.com. And if all this was too much to remember or process, just go to the show notes for this episode at unstarvingmusician.com to find links to all the stuff talked about in this episode. You can leave us feedback, questions, comments, complaints at unstarvingmusician.com/feedback. Thanks for listening. Peace, gratitude, and a whole lot of love.